I've made it very clear since the series came out, and even before that, because I did talk about it, not a lot, but when the one-shot came out, I think it was more on social media, I don't think I talked about it much on my Twitter, that I was going to hype up Build King, and I was going to, be trying to get people to read it. And I'm pretty happy that it's not one of those series that I got hyped about, and then it comes out, and I'm it's like, oh, I'm just pushing it because I said I was, and I don't actually like it, but I do really like Build King. I think it's really interesting, and this chapter itself, like, there was a lot of really good chapters this week. Like, chapters have been really good lately, like, for manga. And I don't mean that just in Shonen Jump. I mean, like, a lot of the big active manga have been really good lately. And even amongst that, I honestly, after reading the chapters this morning, the one that I was most excited to review was Build King. And I don't mean that in the way that I think it was better than the rest of the chapters, because it is very early. It's only 6 chapters. Like, everything is, for the most part, is new and just establishing stuff. It's not like, say, the Black Clover chapter, where there was a lot of emotional kind of context and a lot of stuff building up to that, to where you were very invested in that chapter because of previous events, stuff in the story, and obviously Yuno's a very popular character, and then Xenon as well. The reason this was in my opinion, the one that I was at least the most excited to talk about, was the just amount of stuff in this chapter that... I'll use another example, since I do have a lot of Black Clover fans on my channel. If you go back and look at, say, was it 2 or 3 chapters ago? You remember when we first saw Moro, Morris, Dragon Ball, Morris, and then we saw like Dante in the pod, like the frozen double, like the Clover showing up, everything in that chapter, like it was just so widespread, but it was all stuff that was really important and really good. And this chapter had essentially that. Like, there was a lot just in general in this chapter that got me excited. Like, as you can tell, I'm genuinely really excited. And there is the obvious kind of like cheat like variable with this manga that I did read Toriko, and it's like, the mangaka beforehand, so you trust them, kind of thing. Kind of like how going into Eden Zero, I knew I was gonna, I was willing to trust the manga that I was gonna like it because, I love Wraith Master and love Fairy Tail, so I was like, okay, given the author's work, I guess I'm willing to bet I'm gonna like this. And then going into Build King, same thing with like how I felt like in his previous series Toriko, I was like, man, I'm really hoping I'm gonna like this. I remember reading the one shot and I liked it. I thought it was really interesting, very unique. And then the official series came out and I really liked it. And this chapter, like I said, it had a ton of just stuff laid out all over the place. Like, it started out like, we were seeing this cool castle, and I thought the castle itself was really cool. I mean, you have a upside down like vampire castle that's way bigger than what you'd expect it to be. It's huge, because that's one of the things Shimabukuro does. He likes to go very extra. Like, he likes to just make things gigantic sometimes for the sake of just looking at it and being like, holy crap. And again, the over-the-topness, like you can just look back at chapter 1 when it was the mountain range condos, and it's just like, it's such a weird concept, but you look at it and you really got to think about what it'd be like to kind of just like stand in front of it and look at it, and you just be like, somebody made this and like people live here. It's really crazy to think about, but at the same time, it's really cool. I like the idea of just these, again, over-the-top extra stuff in such a simple way as like a building, but then like when you see like the environment and the monsters and stuff, it all makes sense. Like, you need like crazy buildings for people just to live anywhere. And this chapter, like, it started out with that, just finding about the castle, and then you get to Nana's character right now. He's really weird because he's the older apprentice of Shovel, and we get Shovel hype this chapter. That's again another thing I really am hyped about. Like, we see him on the phone with this with this one dude, like he's on a communicator, because it starts out he's like, oh, they're doing stuff with Cape Bat, that, being the upside down castle, and it's like a D-ranked environment. So you find out about like, okay, there's monsters in there. He says that, and the building is riddled with mysteries. So that by itself sets up a weird precedent of what's, the mysteries of the castle, and also monster fights. Like, it does a really good job just in the second page. Like, the first page is reminding you of what's going on. You see the characters reacting to it, because again, even if the characters live in this world and like crazy monsters and buildings and stuff, like literally they ride there on essentially a house mimic, because that's what the house beats are. It's like a mimic, but again, a house. And you see like the castle and stuff, and like the first page, you also, no. the first page, like they're talking about the weird pathways, like the weird arcing landscapes that go over you know, the whole terrain. And you have Cork explain how it's the bones of a giant ancient dragon that used to rule over this continent, and like monsters even to this day are afraid to go near the skeleton just from their instincts. And it expands over monsters. And again, that's just something that Shimabukuro, again, an experienced mangaka, is so good at, that you can tell, like, in the difference between newer gens. Because I like newer gen. I like a lot of manga in general. But when you look at, say, you know, any of these kind of like way more newer ones, they're playing more cautiously because they don't have, again, they don't have the record of I've done a successful manga before. With some of them are different, but also like their early series, they follow kind of a formula because they want to get like used to the character and get stuff kind of all set out. It's only when you have somebody that's more experienced like this, they're kind of like being a little bit more. They're being a little bit more lenient with kind of the steps. They still want you to understand the world and get you introduced to stuff. But something like this, like he's literally laying out a top tier, probably like crazy far end monster. Like assume Build King doesn't get axed and it goes like as long as Toriko, 300 something chapters. The dragon in this chapter is actually a reference to the Darius, the Dragon King from Toriko. We found about the Darius. I don't remember exactly when, but it was like 200 something chapters before it showed up. So chapter 6, we're finding out about some like massive, way higher up monster in the world, and its skeleton is here. I thought that was just really cool from just reading that panel, because it's one of those things that when you hear about it, you're like, man, I want to know about that. Like, what is this? What was this creature like? Was there more of them? Will we see more? Are we going to find out more information? And I was hyped to find out more information in the same chapter, because plus on top of everything else, like anybody who, you know, knows the meme that I kind of have with like my time on Twitter and stuff, is like my love for dragons. So like I'll always be like, oh, this series has no dragons. Is there a dragon in this? Like it's not a serious thing, but it started out as like a meme, and I just thought it was funny, and I've kind of contributed to it. But I was hyped to see this, and I'm not as much of a fan of like the long snake like Eastern dragons, but I think this is just a cool one, because I'm wondering actually how long like its full body, like, because it looks more like a snake, because it doesn't seem to have arms at all. I don't know. Either way, it's cool. I mean, either way, it's cool. And Toriko reference, so I'm happy. But then, like, you got to Renga, and Renga was talking to a guy, and he, you know, foreshadowing monsters and stuff. And then he gets on the phone, talk to this guy named Kopu, who seems to mostly ignore what Nana's situation is. And he's like, hey, you know, there's a meeting next month between all the carpenters, like the master carpenter meetings next month, and we gotta finish the site we're on, so let's go. So that again is also 2 foreshadowings. You have whatever that job is that the main cast is gonna go probably help with, and then after that, like some form of master carpenter meeting. So that would be big characters finding out what is the big step, what is the big mission that's coming up that maybe the main cast can help on or prepare for. Like if they've got a month, then maybe they can get at least to the point where they can get to like apprentice, like they're kind of tagging along. Like for instance, just as like I think a really fair comparison, when I don't remember how old, I think it was like 13 or 14, I was at my grandparents' house, and they were doing construction on the roof, and like they paid my brothers and I to kind of like, they gave it, I think it was only like $40, so nothing kind of crazy, but again, you know, $40 when you're like, I think I was like 13 or 14, $40 at that age is like gold. But like they like pretty much help these guys, and it's not like I was up there ripping shingles off and putting them in and doing all the different like actual steps that somebody who like works on houses knows. I'd be like, you know, they're like, hey, can you hand me that over there, or like, hey, can you, you know, I think I did rip some shingles off, but it's not like I, you know, was taking them off and putting them on. It's like, hey, you know, grab these old ones that are barely holding on and kind of just pull them on and like throw them in this bucket or something. Like I vaguely remember, but it's not like I can at least say that it's not like I was, you know, I did about my full pull in the job. I was like, no, I was like a, you know, a kid assistant for the job. And that's kind of like how I think it would be for Renga and Tonkatsu. Like, given their powers, the way that I would see it is it'd be like, hey, Tonkatsu, you're part of the group that helps fight monsters that try and attack the building, and then Renga, it would be like, you know, helping build the stuff. Like he would be doing what I would be doing, where it'd be like holding on to like tools for like the actual pros, or kind of just doing the small work that makes it easier for them. Essentially, you know that they see you as useful, but they know that you don't have a lot of skills in this. But I'm sure they would be like, you know, they appreciate you learning and trying kind of thing. That's what I'm hoping for. So I'm hyped for that. Like I said, I really like stuff like that when it's laid out, because it builds. It's such a quick and easy build for the future that you can. And again, I don't mean build as in reference to the series. That wasn't like a pun. That was just me using words. But I think that's just really fun in general when series prep stuff up like that. And it was done in such a subtle way that linked into another one that also builds for big character reveals. Like, again, if we're gonna see master carpenters, that's a big deal for the series. Like, these are big characters. This is like if you know, Black Clover, the captains, or One Piece meeting the warlords for the first time. Like Fairy Tail meeting the wizard saints, the Bleach meeting the captains. You know, they're big characters, and like it just has such a like hype precedence of knowing that these are gonna end up being like big dudes we're gonna see later on. These guys are all gonna be powerful, be able to do like crazy stuff. The construction aspect of the series is like gonna be so weird to see characters like, because the series is definitely, like, from what we've seen and like the experience of the manga's had, like, high power levels, definitely lots of raw physical strength. So like when it comes to fights and stuff and whatever like characters' abilities are, that's always going to be one thing. But like the carpentry is going to be such a weird like aspect to scale later. I think that's going to be really fun. That honestly to me like opens up a really unique, just kind of like aspect of the series for later. Like if Build King can survive and get a fan base, I want to see people arguing carpentry power levels. I think that would be hilarious. But we see that apparently Cork is like a princess, and I guess something like that would be the case, because it is a castle. The guy seems more kind of like a duke or something, or some, not like a king, but kind of just like a position of nobility, like a, I'm trying to think of like just other positions, like a count, or like, I don't know too many of the, like kind of in that lower tier, but you know what I mean, where it's like they would probably know the king but they aren't the king kind of thing. But this guy, I thought that the whole thing about him standing upside down made like all the blood go to his head, made his head bigger, was actually pretty funny. But Cork being like a almost like princess thing, I was like, that wasn't like that important to me, but I really liked the entrance to like their castle. I thought that was really cool. Like it's like this just by itself a really interesting set, like this big archway at the edge of the cliff, and then you have this pathway that goes down, you know, down, and you'd have to crawl on the ceiling. But there's a ladder that you have to kind of crawl, that you have to use, which by itself would be scary. By itself, that would be scary. Like, I get these characters are superhuman and stuff, like a lot of these guys, like Tonkatsu especially, so like him holding his weight and his brother's weight is easy. That's probably the same as like me standing up and holding a bar. Like, I don't feel it. But like, just looking at it would be spooky. I can't imagine for the people that work for this guy that like live inside his castle. Can you imagine like anytime you're going from like the town to work or to talk to this this dude, this count, I can't remember exactly what his title was, but anytime you go to talk to him, you're essentially one slip and you fall to your death. That would suck. It's funny to think about. I imagine most people probably have these gecko shoes, which was another thing I really liked. Like, Shimabukuro is just like laying in like one page, it's an easy explanation. Gecko shoes. Okay, they're shoes, geckos. We know geckos can stick to walls and ceilings. You're seeing it done. You're seeing how it kind of works. You're seeing a character that's used to it. It's done in a way that it doesn't take a long time to build over. Like, if this was a new mangaka, like it would have been another page and a half of explaining these shoes and maybe like the full design of them. Like, he'll probably like show what the shoes look like later, but I don't think you really need to, because it's so simple. It's one of those things that like that again, an experienced creator is able kind of just to brush past it. It's one of those things. It's not like I'm trying to like brag on him or do anything. Again, it's the difference between an experienced in a area of expertise versus a new guy. And I think most people can really look at that and look at most mediums, and it's like, you can tell what, like, you can have a guy be really talented, really good, and he's up and coming, but you can see some parts where they might not be as experienced and might miss something that you, like a normal guy, like a much more veteran guy would be like, why'd you do that, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I really like what he's doing here. And then like we found this stuff with Shovel. Like, I knew Shovel was going to be hype, but like him pretty much Shovel being like one of the big people like upcoming in the world. He even said that like he is the closest man in the world to being a master builder. So I'm guessing that means that like, because that's a really weird way to word that. just saying he's the closest thing in the world to a master builder, because it could imply that there's currently no master builders left in the world. Like I'm wondering about that as well, because we know that master builders are the people that build kings. We know that the build kings, it's like the essentially of like our world, like wonders of the world and construction. And just imagine the Great Wall of China, but like power level shonen people needed to build something to that scale. Like again, the mountain range condo, like you had all these people who were trying to live somewhere, and it's like it's impossible because it's this Arctic wasteland. And it's like, what if we just build a giant like condo that probably fits like hundreds of thousands of people's in the side of this mountain, not even mountain, this mountain range, and then go to the clouds? Like it's crazy. But he talks about how he's got his own group, the Carpenters, and I'm guessing that's why they have like the rank when they're saying Master Carpenters, and that's specifically within Shovel's group. I also really like Shovel in the picture having Renga's knife and Tonkachi's hammer. I've mentioned before, like the series, like Tonkachi has a lot of vibes of like early Goku, like Kid Goku and early Luffy. And I myself, like, I'm not a big Dragon Ball guy, I'm not a big One Piece guy, but I do genuinely really like Kid Luffy and early Luffy and Kid Goku, just from like the base starting point. It's like I like most main characters and most big main characters, I'd say rather. One of the things I really like about him is early early Ichigo. He was like this punk, he seemed like a punk, but he's actually kind of like this really good-hearted guy. He's really nice, but he would turn on the hoodlum kind of just delinquent rapscallion, whatever kind of word you would want to use, that's like, you know, bad kid who's not a criminal, but he's right before there. I was trying to think of some more, but I felt like I was gonna start slipping into such weird sounding words, like actually the last one, what is it, there's like an ocean one that I really wanted to use. I'll let me put that on the back burner and come back to that, because that one I really want. Oh, Scallywag. Scallywag. That one I just always thought was funny, but I feel it's one of those ones, if you say out loud, it's not like Delinquent where it sounds fine. It sounds fine if you say it out loud, but like Scallywag would just sound weird. I gotta move faster. Like this is way longer than I thought it was gonna be for Build King, but I genuinely really want to talk about this chapter. But like early Ichigo, like I said, he was like a delinquent with like a really good heart, and he was really nice to people that, you know, were good people. Early Natsu was like this, again, he was like this really friendly troublemaker, and Luffy was like just this guy. Luffy, like early Goku, was just this pure-souled fighter. Like he just was like this kid from the mountains. He didn't really know anything, but he was in there to battle. He just wanted to throw hands and, you know, go on an adventure. Like Luffy has that whole very like pure-souled childlike persona early on, but he's a pirate, so he can kind of turn on the mad when he has it. And that's what Tonkachi has. Like we see that in earlier chapters. Like he's really happy, really nice, really friendly, and then like you know, threaten his brother, and it's just like, hey, what are you doing? And he's got his hammer out. He's like, you want to do this? Like, are we doing this? Like, there's something wrong with you? Like but at the same time, he's not like, I'm gonna crush this guy. Because the way he says it is, he's like, you got a few screws loose, something wrong. Like he thinks that it's like there's something damaged about him he needs to fix. Because again, he is a carpenter, but he's just a different kind of carpenter. But again, he has that kind of same persona, and I like that about him. And it's one of those things, like, I don't think a lot of people have given Build King a chance because, like, again, the premise. But I think if they just would kind of like go for the characters, it's one of those ones that's like Yu-Gi-Oh! If you looked at Yu-Gi-Oh! From outside, you'd be like, why would I watch this? But if you go in early, you focus on the characters, and then you kind of like let the world, like you embrace like the design of the world, which is kind of the same thing with Build King. It's a very weird concept, so you have to really get immersed in the story, and the way to do it is through the characters. And I think the characters so far in Build King have been really good. But like the thing I said, he's got his hammer. It reminds me, after seeing like the fact that it gets bigger with his strength, and then seeing he got that from his master. Because actually, didn't I think Goku got the power pole from Grandpa Gohan? That I don't remember off the top of my head. That feels like I remember it, and I feel like it's like 90-something% true. But it's one of those things that I can't remember the exact scene where he said it, so I feel like I shouldn't just say like 100%. But I feel like it is 100%. But seeing him, you know, hold the hammer and the knife just makes me think of like something like that. Like they inherit it from some other guy that means a lot to him, and it's really cool the way that was just presented. But I'll try and speed through some of the other stuff. Like we see Tonkachi, I really like when they're like getting ready to renovate the house, and he's like, all right, first comes demolition though. And he's ready to smash stuff to get to breaking, which is really true when you think about it, because his brother Renga he's a builder. He's really good at building things. We haven't seen like from his side of things like a level of like physical strength that'd be like, this guy has superhuman strength, like he could fight if he wanted to. Like the only thing I'd really say about him is he would probably have like superhuman stamina and probably enhanced speed because he can build stuff so fast. Like he's just way faster. Like I imagine Lego Kirby when you build something really quick. That's like his power right now. He's just really fast at it. And then Tonkatchi, like breaking stuff like with his strength, because he's got the side of his hammer to the like reinforce buildings and stuff, which is good. But then his crushing side, he can use it to fight monsters. But it is true, like if they're gonna renovate something, they have to break stuff. So working together, Tonkatchi smashing it and then Renga fixing it back up actually really makes a lot of sense. I thought that was really cool. Seeing the castle upside down was really, really neat. I liked it, the ceiling, like that it's designed in a really weird way that it has like the ceiling and it has like a floor, like on some areas of it, like in the king, like I don't know if he's a king or a duke, whatever. Like all the people that work there that can't walk on the ceiling or have gecko shoes, like there's like areas where they can be, and then there's places like the Cork's room, and then it's all upside down because she walks on the ceiling and stuff. But she said there is a note that she can't walk on the ceiling because she has to have the shoes, and she doesn't drink blood. Like most of the people in this guy's kind of like, I don't know. I think he said clan. I don't think it was like a religion or like a lifestyle. I think it's like a clan, and a lot of them have kind of turned away from that. Like not many of them rather walk on the ceiling anymore. None of them drink blood much anymore. It seems like the dude, like the old man, like the Cork's dad, he's this guy who's kind of stuck in tradition, and I'm fine with that. Like he's somebody who just really wants to cherish the castle and cherish like the ways his his clan and his people have been on, because they said the castle had been there for 10,000 years. So I assume that their teachings have been there for 10,000 years. Like there's always things have to progress. People have to grow out of things. There's always a road that people should be able to go if they want to like leave a tradition, but that people that stay in the tradition should never like they have to leave if they want to stay in like being a traditional sense of however they were raised, in a way that doesn't seem to be a problem, because this guy drinking blood, it doesn't seem like he's killing people. I'm guessing more it's like he can just get blood from animals or monsters, or like maybe like blood donations, because he doesn't seem like a bad guy. So I assume that just him staying like this is not a problem to anybody. So if this character, I'm kind of hoping he sticks around, because if he decides to, they fix up the castle and he's all happy, he gets to keep living like this, because the castle slowly breaking down would be at risk. Because if the castle breaks and is gone, because they said that it was built without like pretty much like a proper permit, so they don't really have the blueprints. So like the thing is a secret, and he has the blueprints, like his family has the blueprints. So who knows who'd be able to build it back if it was broken. And if it's broken, this guy pretty much loses like his entire way of life, essentially, like the entire way his clan grew up on, and they like were, their culture essentially, and he's trying to preserve it. So I really respect that, and him having like the worry about if somebody would come fix it. He was very cautious about getting a carpenter to come like get renovations, probably because of just like him not being too comfortable with potential damage to the castle, because it is again probably a symbol of his whole clan's culture and teachings and whatnot, and everything they kind of do. And even if it's a little silly, like he's pretty much a vampire, it's still something that obviously he would have known his whole life, and him being a good guy, it's clearly not a bad thing. So when he found out about them being apprentices to Shovel, like he just let him in, because this is obviously apprentices to probably, like I said, the top tier up and comer. I'd like to believe that there still are build kings, and Shovel is just like the number one to become a build king next kind of thing. And I really was happy to see Tonkatchi like stoked about how it was his first job, like just that like kind of sparkly eyed scene as he's hanging upside down after they get the gecko shoes. I thought that was really nice just for him in general. But him going full 10-meter hammer, like his vigor hammer, smashing in the building and it not doing any damage, I was really surprised, because for a moment I thought it was gonna be a scene where we just see him do a big power level thing. But then we see the castle, and again, it's a Toriko reference, which I was pretty happy about. The Darius dragon, it's one fang. This one though, its fang is like all chipped compared to the Darius one, because in Toriko it's a little bit different. It's more of like a western dragon. It has like these weird tendrils all on it, coming out of its mouth, like a weird tendril tongue, and its fang is one massive fang. This one's way more jagged, and it's like chipped and broken or something. But they essentially made the upside down castle out of this fang. So I'm really curious as to where that's gonna go, because on top of that, it means that this has to be made by somebody really big. Like, only an impressive person can work on this. Because think about this. The monster itself was super hyped up. It was the king of an entire continent. It was a monster that ruled over a whole continent. The main character in what we've seen is power level, and we've seen him crush, like, essentially, like, I actually did the math. It's like town level in size of, it's like 5 kilotons of power. Like, it has the physical strength of a nuke, a small real world nuke, not like when you get into crazy fictional power level stuff, getting to the big absurd things. It's big to us in real life. And it did nothing to that. And on top of that, it hypes up somebody that did this is a big deal. And then how are they going to fix this? And this is also a really big thing, because this means when they fix this, they'll have figured out a way to mend like a really special, unique building in the series. This is all, like, I'm really hyped to see where this goes, and that's why I'm really hoping Build King does well, survives getting canceled at the, usually around the 16 to 20 chapter mark is that like area where Shonen Jump decides. I'm hoping, like, some of the series I feel like that are way more probable to getting axed. I think with his experience, and once people really start to kind of pick up on Build King and they see just the style of it, I think they'll really like, because it does have a very classic 90s manga and anime style, and I think a lot of people will like that about it. They just have to kind of get used to the fact that it has like this weird carpentry aspect of it, but it's still gonna have a lot of shonen battle and action. I think after the first like good fight, like Tonkachi, the first like chapter and a half fight Tonkachi has against a bad guy is gonna be, it's going to be the trigger that starts to get people into the series, because like so far we only have a couple scenes where he does like a really cool attack, but we don't have like a battle. And I think once people see that it will still be a battle shonen, you'll at least start to pull people in to where it's not like Shokugeki no Soma, like, Food Wars Soma is a cooking series, and it's primarily a cooking series where you have Toriko has cooking in it, but also has tons of action that like somebody who likes all, normal battle shonens can also get into. And that's essentially what Build King is. It's the same thing with what Toriko has, in kind of that weird concept that lines up with it being a battle shonen on top of it, but it just had so much more. And I think early, it wouldn't surprise me if like Toriko came out now if it had that early series problem where people are like, isn't it about cooking? But that's I think we'll start to get fixed once we get to some battles, and then hopefully the next up and coming parts of Build King. I'm hoping really bad that we get to see just a short fight, like a full chapter fight. It would be good for me. I don't need like Tonkachi fighting to where it's like his first, like, to every limit battle he has to use 100% and break through a new power up form. No, just him having a good fight where he's just like, that was a bit of a workout, like that guy was tough kind of thing. Maybe he's got a couple scrapes, couple bleeds. But yeah, anyway, other than that, they'll comment below. This is way longer than I thought it was going to be, but there was a lot I really wanted to talk about, and that's again one of the things I like about Build King. I like to have series I can talk about a lot. It's like something like Phantoms here that's also really early, I'm enjoying, but there's not as much expanse to kind of just think about the series over early. And it's really when you kind of start to really expand, like when you start to think about a series and it's not just one character, two characters or part of the story, it's really you're trying to get an idea of the large scope of things and really just kind of think of like world history for like Earth, and it's just like, but for a series you're trying to figure out stuff all over, what's going to happen where, mysteries in it, how trying to connect secrets. It's stuff like that really makes me hype for stuff, and Build King has that for me, so I am really hyped for Build King. The last series that I was this hyped for early, you can go back and look, was Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man, when it came out, I was this hyped for it. I had the same energy. I was really stoked. Even early chapters, I was like, there's so much to kind of like look at the world, and so much being presented to us in such a way that is thought, like it just gets your thought-provoking towards the series, and it's not overwhelming to read, but it gives you a lot to think about, and that's what I like about Build King. So Other than that, though, comment below. Like I said, I didn't expect this to be about 30 minutes. I thought this was going to be about 15 to 18, but I really liked it. I really liked this chapter. They had all really good parts in series. This is just like, you know, when you have again a series and it's something way later and it connects to all these other big characters and upcoming storylines, and it's like, oh, these things, I'm hyped for this guy, oh, this bad guy's getting ready to do something, all the main characters learning some new power up, something like that. It's like it happened this chapter, but as an early chapter, and I really like that, where it was just all this information in such a positive way and fun way that it was great. Anyway, other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, befriend the like button, subscribe button, and honestly, tell me what your opinions on Build King are so far. Like, it's not amazing in like the story, everything about it is a 10. It's just like it's so likable, and it's been so much fun so far, and I really like it, and it's super unique. So yeah, other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, friend, like button, subscribe button, and share my videos. And thanks to everyone who's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.